He is probably the most famous man to never make it to the American Idol big stage. When William Hung auditioned for the third season of American Idol, the judges laughed at him. In fact, you may remember his audition.
What if the most unforgettable moment on American Idol wasn't from a winner at all, but from a shy college kid who couldn't even sing on key? William Hung took the stage in 2004 with just a worried smile and the words to "She Bangs." He managed to steal the show from everyone else. His story spread like wildfire before the word viral existed.
He was there for a friend's birthday party, showing off what else, the song that made him go viral. Hung, though, is actually a motivational speaker now, using his fame to help others.
Stick around because you're about to hear what really happened to him. The unlikely beginning. William Hung's life didn't start out in the public eye. In the early 1980s, he was born in a small apartment in Hong Kong. He was the only child of parents who believed in hard work and school. As a child, William's family moved to California in search of better chances. That's where he grew up. He wasn't the loudest or most active kid in school. He was the quiet kid who would sit in front of the computer for hours on end, not to listen to music, but to play video games. He went to games to relax, where tactics and timing were more important than how he looked or how popular he was. William liked math when he was in school. While math and science came easily to him, art, especially music, didn't seem to fit into his world. His parents thought that he would have a safe future as an engineer, the kind of job that would give him security over praise. He tried to do what was right and follow that road. He joined a math and science trivia team in high school with the hope of standing out, but the team never got very far. That failure made him question whether he could ever stand out at all. When William got into UC Berkeley to study civil engineering, he felt like he had made his parents' dreams come true. But there was a quiet sadness behind the proud acceptance letter. He didn't expect college life to be like this. Being away from home and having a lot of hard work to do made him feel distant, and he started to feel a little depressed. He spent most of his time in his college room, where he often got lost in video games to escape the stress that was building up around him. As he walked around the college one afternoon, a brightly colored poster caught his eye. It was a notice about a talent show for students. He hadn't ever thought about joining, but he paused for some reason. It could have been because he was bored or interested, or he could have just been looking for something to do besides math and lab reports. Around the same time, Ricky Martin's lively hit, "She Bangs," started to stick in his head. It wasn't like the soft pop and slow songs that were usually on the radio. William was really into Ricky's performance because of his swagger. The beat was electric and the chorus was hard to forget. In a way that no math problem ever had, the song made him feel alive. It made me think of a big idea. He might be able to do something completely out of character at the talent show if he could learn how to sing that song. He was thrilled that no one thought he would do it. For weeks, he watched the music video over and over, trying to remember the beat, the moves, and even the look of interest in Ricky's eyes. That's all his friends knew about it. During breaks and late at night, he practiced the lines by himself in his room, trying to get the same energy. There wasn't a vocal teacher or any fancy gear, just a determined student looking for a new goal. William walked out on the small school stage on the night of the talent show, nervous but determined. People in the crowd had no idea what was coming. Things didn't go as planned when he started singing "She Bangs." The crowd laughed first, then clapped, and then cheered because he was so excited. He didn't hit every note, but he did hit a bigger note. He was fun to watch. Not only did people cheer for him as he left the stage that night, but he also felt more confident than he had ever felt before. Something changed inside him because of that one event. An engineering student who is shy could win over a room full of strangers. He might be able to do more. He began to think that he had the guts to do something much bigger. When the tests for the third season of American Idol came around, William was ready to do something that didn't make sense on paper, but did feel right. He signed up with just that one song, no professional training, and the memory of how good it felt to have people cheer for him before. Next wasn't just another audition, it was a 90-second show that would go around the world, crash early internet systems, and completely change William Hung's life. The audition that broke the internet. For everyone but William, the morning of his interview felt like any other. He walked in with a plain shirt, a shy smile, and the same song that had changed his life at the school talent show. Most of the other contestants were well-groomed and sure of themselves. The judges thought he was just another name on the list. People behind the cameras mumbled and smiled as he introduced himself. They were already sure of what they were about to see. The music started, and William started singing She Bangs with the same bravery that had won over his friends months before. Even though his voice was rough and his beat was all over the place, he sang every word like he belonged on that stage. It was impossible for the judges not to respond. Simon rolled his eyes, Randy shook his head, and Paula tried hard not to laugh. William never jumped. He smiled through every note. Even when the judges told him he wasn't good enough to be an idol, it only took that 90-second clip. People at home who watched that night saw more than just a bad performance. They saw someone who was brave enough to try. His bravery stood out in a show about hopes and failures. His raw performance felt real in a way that much of TV rarely does, and the mix of awkwardness and joy touched a lot of people. Everything changed in the morning. People stopped him in the middle of classes at his college to get autographs and pictures. While some people cheered and others made fun of the guy who had just stolen the show on national TV, almost everyone wanted to meet him. A fan made a website called williamhung.net in just a few days. Over 8 million people visited it in less than a month, which was a huge number back then, before YouTube and Instagram. That quick surge of attention led to a $25,000 deal with Coke Records to record a song. It was a surprise when William's first record, Inspiration, came out in 2004 and sold more than 250,000 copies. It even went to #1 on the Billboard Independent Albums chart. The next two albums were a funny Christmas album called Hung for the Holidays and a happy summer album called Miracle, Happy Summer from William Hung. For the third time, it wasn't as exciting, but his name was already famous in pop culture. The rush of fame didn't end when the songs did. William was on talk shows with Jay Leno, David Letterman, and Ellen DeGeneres in the late-night hours. He showed up in national ads for Ask Jeeves and Jack in the Box. He had roles on comedy shows like Mad TV and Arrested Development, and he was even the leader of the fake courtroom band Hung Jury. His meteoric rise was shown in the short film Hangin' with Hung. The trend spread to sports stadiums as well. People were excited to see him in person just for fun because he sang at Toronto's Sky Dome and in front of a St. Cloud River Rats baseball crowd. He was in radio talks, magazine spreads, and red carpet events for a while, riding a wave that no one could have seen coming. The world's attention was shifting to other things, and the spotlight was starting to fade. But William's next story would show how he rebuilt his life when the cheers stopped. William's quiet comeback. William Hung used to get praise everywhere, but by the late 2000s he could walk through a crowd without anyone noticing him. He had to think about the future in a way he hadn't during his busy years as a joke star because of the sudden quiet. Instead of trying to get another record deal, he went back to school to finish what he was doing and looked for stable work outside of music. In 2011, he found a new path that was very different from the bright lights of TV. He agreed to work as a technical crime and statistical researcher for the Los Angeles County Department of Health. It came with spreadsheets instead of microphones and long-term rewards instead of flash. He looked forward to the routine and the promise of a steady pension after years of touring with unpredictable plans. In June 2014, 3 years after that, William married John Teng. He had lost his sense of balance while he was on the road, but his marriage gave him that back for a while. He lived a very simple life, even though he was famous all over the world. He avoided the party scene in Hollywood, lived a simple life, and rarely made the news, except for the odd story about how much he missed being famous on American Idol. He chose to write a book called Champion by Choice about the lessons he had learned during this time. He said that everyone should be able to try new things without being made fun of or shut down. A serious side of him came out in the book that most people had never seen when they thought of him as a joke. But he was honest about the damage that the attention had given him. Some critics, including Joe Rogan and comedian Jimmy O. Yang, said mean things about him that stuck with him. They called into question his ability and even his mental health. William wouldn't let those comments define who he was. He said that he had done his best in that well-known interview and didn't feel bad about taking a chance. There were good and bad times in his personal life. He was married twice and divorced twice. Each time taught him something that he used in the future. He stated that when he was younger, he cared too much about how someone looked instead of how they were as a person. And he learned to own up to his part in the relationships that didn't work out. It changed how he thought about love and made him more picky about the qualities he wants in a partner. Even though things went wrong, he never let anger take over. He kept his mind on life with a purpose and showed himself that your worth is not based on charts or headlines, but on how much value you add to other people's lives. Lots of the time, he told people to find their own skills and not let critics run their story. William quietly built a more stable life by stepping away from the fame that used to define him. This shows that sometimes being strong means knowing when to start over on a different road. How William Hung reinvented himself. It looked like William Hung's life had settled into a nice routine until he said that his desire to fight and make things had never really gone away. When he wasn't in front of the cameras, he became very interested in poker and played it for years. What began as a fun hobby for him in the years after he became famous slowly turned into another area where he could test himself. He won about $60,000 over the course of his career. He was most happy to make it to the main event of the World Series of Poker, which is the biggest tournament for card players. William played poker for more than just fun. He often said it was the best of both luck and skill, a game that rewards planning, patience, and the guts to make big choices. He felt like he knew these lessons. He thought that a risky interview was a lot like a planned bluff at the table. Both involved taking responsibility for the choices you made, being able to change quickly when things changed, and not letting comparisons with other people distract you. In 2020, the plague stopped all live events, which was a surprise. It gave William time to think about his future. A lot of people still only remember him for his interview years ago, but he started making a new name for himself online. He started live streaming his poker games and talking about what he was doing. This helped him connect with people who liked how honest and positive he was. At the same time, he started making game content, which brought back one of his old loves from when he was a teenager. It wasn't just for fun, it turned into a way to bring people together around good gaming culture. He also found his voice as a motivational speaker and public speaking teacher. He taught people how to speak with confidence in virtual sessions, just like he had to do on the American Idol stage. People who followed William at the time were interested in his big dream, which was to build a 3-story artistic hub that he called the William Hung Academy. He wanted to put all of his hobbies under one roof, with a gaming lounge on the first floor, a center for personal growth and public speaking on the second, and a studio for singing and dancing on the third. Putting fun and learning together was his way of giving people a place to try new things without worrying about being criticized. William moved from Los Angeles to Jacksonville, Florida, so he could focus on this new phase. The move wasn't about glitz, it was about the setting. He found a helpful friend and roommate who could give him a quieter place to work on his live streaming setup and other projects he had in mind. For William, the change meant another smart move, like folding your cards to get ready for the next round at the poker table. Even though he tried these new things, some of his most memorable moments were still on stage, like his emotional return to American Idol and his long-awaited duet with Ricky Martin. He also left a reputation as one of reality TV's most unexpected stars. Full circle glory. It's not really over for William Hung after his first big break. Over the years, he kept getting asked to go back to American Idol, the show where it all started. Each return was important in its own way, but the night of the show's big finale was the most important. Since millions of people were watching to say goodbye to a pop culture icon, William came on stage right after Simon Cowell's emotional goodbye. He did his signature song, She Bangs, again under the bright lights. It was almost like a live time capsule of the show's unpredictable magic. It felt like a full circle when the contestant who had been made fun of was now finishing the book with the judge who had thrown him out. Another great moment was when a long-held wish came true in 2018. They shared the stage with Ricky Martin. The duet had seemed like a fan-made dream for 14 years, but after a radio shout-out and a few phone calls, it came true. When William joined Ricky in front of a live crowd, it wasn't about being perfect technically. Instead, it was about celebrating hard work and the joy of following a dream. Later, he talked very highly of Ricky's kindness and modesty, saying that the whole thing still seemed strange to him, even though years had passed. People were informed by these events that William's legacy was more than just a few off-key notes at an audition. He became a lasting example of joyful persistence, the rare contestant who turned being turned down into being noticed. His name still comes up when people talk about reality show losers who win hearts by daring to try. Decades after his first performance on TV, William used his fame to do more than just talk about memories. He also pushed for better treatment of people who become famous overnight through talent shows. He often talked about how contestants who suddenly become very popular need mental health help. He did this by using his own experience of dealing with instant worldwide fame. Besides that, he changed into a figure of expression. William stayed visible as an Asian American in popular entertainment, even though he faced criticism and stereotypes early on. He showed younger people that they could make it even if they didn't look like the typical star in the industry. His motivating speeches always had the same message: everyone should be able to try without worrying about being laughed at. Even in smaller groups, his story continued to inspire people. Gamers liked how competitive he was, poker players saw him as a fellow tactician, and people in general liked his message of strength. In the early days of viral TV, what began as a funny act turned into a lasting cultural symbol of courage and hope. Outro William Hung's story proves that trying once can change everything. If you enjoyed this journey, like, share, and subscribe. And don't miss the next video popping up on your screen right now.